It's day 58 of Art Every Day. Welcome to this channel. If you're new here, what I've been doing for the past almost 2 months is I've been trying to practice a little bit of art every single day. And the plan for today is I'm going to draw a little bit of a building. So I really enjoyed playing a little bit of music the last couple of times, so I'm just going to get some music rolling here. Um, and I think I talked a couple days ago about how I felt like I was really struggling. And I talked about this a bit yesterday too, where it felt like I was, excuse me, struggling to make any sort of improvement. And I also noted that I haven't been drawing anything new, right? So, or I guess you could also say on top of that, I haven't been drawing things that I want to draw. And what I mean by that is really like, some people, they love to draw like anime characters from shows or movies. I love drawing like landscapes and those sorts of I love landscapes. And so I went to school for landscape architecture and design. How much of that I actually brought home, I'm not always sure to this day. I know how to draw fairly decently. I know how to design like at least a somewhat competent landscape, right? Do some programmatic sketches and design. But as far as the actual quality of the drawing, right, like the skill of getting pen to paper, I'm not exactly sure. I feel like there's a lot to be improved upon. And something I think I wanted to work on as well is because I recently moved to a city, very urban environment where there's plenty of buildings all around, a lot of very old, brick houses, sort of these side by side. We've got the staircase in front. It's almost like a little downtown New York City in a way, or how I imagine it used to be back in the day. So we've got these sort of buildings and these beautiful street trees. This is just a very 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 rough sketch, but this is the sort of style of neighborhood that I'm in right now, and I've wanted to go out and draw some of these buildings, and just learn how to draw. I can draw landscapes fine in landscape architecture, but before I would just get the plants and the trees in there, and the actual buildings themselves were kind of an afterthought. It was just like a shape in the background to represent what's there. So I would love to learn how to not just draw landscape architecture, but just architecture in general. So I could look out the window and dox myself by trying to draw a couple buildings nearby me, but instead I'm pulling an image from Google Earth. Something I really want to practice isn't only, we've been doing perspective drawing, so you've got your classic buildings in perspective where you've got the plane facing at you at a perfect 90-degree angle, which that's never going to happen in the real world, right? You've got these buildings that are just coming through. You can kind of eyeball the finishing points, or I'm trying to learn how to eyeball the finishing points. And you can sort of build the streetscape like that if that's what you want to do. And that's one way to do it. You've got these structures here. Let's get another one in there, maybe like layered behind. But in the real world, when you look at a scene like this, you're never going to see buildings like this. And what do I mean by that? They're going to be tilted somewhat. They're going to be at an angle. you're going to be at an angle. You're going to see a couple of vanishing points down several streets. And then on top of all of that, you're not going to be looking at buildings in 2-point perspective. Anytime that you look up at the building, you all of a sudden transform to 3-point perspective. So what do I mean by 3-point perspective? If this is something you're not familiar with, we just get 3 vanishing points in here. So one on the horizon here, one on the horizon there, and one up top here. So let's say that we've got like a building here. It's quite tall, it points up towards the sky, and it's so tall, in fact, that it points so high up into the sky that it starts to look smaller and smaller as you look higher and higher. And so the vanishing point isn't just over here and over here, but up towards the top of the sky as well. And so that can be really nice for creating this effect of depth or height, right? Like if I wanted this to be an incredibly tall building, I might create this illusion here. And maybe it doesn't look the best right here. But you can sort of see what I'm going for. If you can imagine it like so. And now one of the issues is like if that's going to be the vanishing point, then all the other vanishing points have to like adhere to that. So maybe this is a cool effect, right? I'm sort of playing in real time. You've got this ultra tall building, and like it warps your perspective of the streetscape around you. And then where would this vanishing point be? Would that still be down there? And then this would be pointing away from that vanishing point. And this would that still follow along the horizon, because so many questions I have about this I just don't know the answers to. So you can create this effect of depth, essentially is what I'm trying to say here. And learning a couple of rules and how to adhere to them can really create this dramatic effect, I guess. But it's not going to look quite like that in reality. If this is our frame down here, then the top vanishing point is going to be way up and above where you're sitting. And the way that I like to think of this is, if I'm sitting down, I've got my chair, and I'm looking at the street in front of me, and at the top of the building that I'm looking at is only angled to about there. There's at the top of the building in this hypothetical drawing. But the vanishing point that this is pointing to is the same vanishing point that's directly above me. So you have all of this space. So let's kind of draw an arc around me. So here's my canvas. It's this space here. From here down to wherever I choose to end it. Let's get a little bit of the ground in there as well. So this whole space between these blue lines is my canvas. I've got my canvas in front of me. And up above that, I'm going to represent that with a red line, is the vanishing point that this is going up towards. And that's all of this space up here. So I don't know if any of this is making sense, but like, as I look up, my view is rotating around the sphere of my observation point, and that is going to change the way that the structures appear to me. So if I'm looking at one scene very like motionless, it might look like we've got the traditional. Here's a building here, and shoot. It might look like something like that, right? Whoa. Something like that. But when I start thinking about that vanishing point is when the buildings start to shrink towards the top. So I really want to be better at spotting that out in the wild, wherever that happens to be, right? So I've got an image from Google Earth from Prague, and I'm not sure the name of this building. It's in downtown Prague. It's a very large structure, and the way that I've got the camera angled on Google Earth, it's something like this. So we've got a vanishing point somewhere off in the distance this way, and we've got the building sloping down that way and pointing back up. So I should point somewhere up here off the page. So we've got this very tall structure here with that vanishing point up above. And so what I'm trying to do is, one, learn how to draw buildings, and two, not only try to learn how to draw a 3-point perspective, but how to intuit 3-point perspective in the same way that you can intuit 2-point perspective after you learn enough. So I hope that I've learned enough 2-point perspective to be able to draw these somewhat comfortably. But that's the point of doing this, right? Like, I'm learning along the way. So yeah, this is just going to be another episode where I just draw and chat, and I'm not really putting any pressure on myself to make anything crazy. Just to draw what I like to draw and to learn from it. So that's the hope for today. So I'm going to get my structure lines underneath here first. Our horizon line is way down on the bottom here. I'm okay using the shift lock to get that straight line, because for the purposes of this, I'm not too worried about figuring out how to draw horizontal lines straight without. Oh, that wasn't too bad. But you get the point. So my vanishing point is going to be way up here somewhere, and all of the lines that I draw have to intuitively find it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw what I see and hope I get it right. And if I get it wrong, then I'm going to not really stress myself out. I'm just going to realize where I can improve and what to do next time. And the more you do something, the easier it gets, right? So that's the hope with this. So we've got this incredibly dramatic angle here first. And this is going to be the top of that building. Not only the top of that building, but the edge where there's a little bit of... I'm learning maybe as I'm drawing these, I'm going to learn some architectural terms as well. But I'm going to call this. What would this be called? Like, not a banister. It's a banister, anyways. Banister. Architectural terms. This is called. Maybe this is called a freeze. Anywho. And then from here, we've got this angle that's sweeping down and away. So let's start with just one. I'm trying to learn how to ghost my lines as well before I draw them. Looks like the top of that second part is about around the 1/3 mark of here. So it goes down pretty far. Maybe it's there. I'm just going to try and draw that angle. And it's not quite 90 degrees from this. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. And I'm just seeing it wrong. Let's assume that it is. If it's 90 degrees, then it would follow along this direction. And that looks kind of right. I think that's not quite 90 degrees though. So it'd be something closer to that. And then the length of this side here is about equal to the length between the top of that and the structures aside from it. Jeez, I really don't know what to call all this stuff. So what I'm gonna do here is try and match that up. So it's maybe about there. In a perfect world, if this would be a right angle and this would be a somewhat equal triangle. And now to deal with our vanishing point, right? So it looks like this structure here at the center is where our vanishing point begins to point towards. There's a slight angle, ever so slight. There we go. Call that good enough for now. No, it's good enough for me. And now we've got the top of that building there, which is pointing down towards this vanishing point here. So this would follow along very closely, but at a slight angle. So in a perfect world, this goes down to here, this goes down to there as well. That's what it looks like. And now we get to see that vanishing point up above a little bit easier. So it looks like it would be something like this. Ever so slightly wider at the bottom than at the top. But this is just the shape that's intersecting with the corner of... shoot, I should have done this in a different order. But we're following the same vanishing point. Same vanishing point, same vanishing point. Pointing up towards it. Hopefully. And these are all following the same vanishing point. So what I'm doing, this isn't supposed to be a perfect sketch. I'm just trying to understand how this exists in 3D space and really convey that. So this is sort of a turret that comes off the side of the structure. And I think that might need to be higher up. It does need to be higher up. So I'm just going to erase that a little bit here. Ever so slightly higher to here. There we go. This is cut into thirds, it looks like. So I'm just going to draw those in now. Again, following that vanishing point. This is not feeling as hard as I thought it might, but I think if I actually went and I lined up all of my lines, none of them would intersect at the same spot. But that's okay, as long as it looks like it should, and it's conveying that idea, then I'm okay with it. So again, this shape kind of comes off the side here. We've got this little thing up the top there. Got a banister coming along the sides down that way. Banister's not the right word. Railing. Something else like that as well. This definitely does need to be higher still. So I'm just sketching. This is just a sketch. No need for this to be perfect. No need to get stressed out about it. Because this is a learning opportunity. And we've got this jutting out here in front of it. Kind of getting lost in this as I'm just sort of doodling and drawing and having fun. And I guess that's the hope of doing this, is having fun again and not stressing it too much, right? So that's a very good thing. And I'm not stressed out. So we've got sort of these columns, 4 columns in front of this here, almost like a Parthenon type deal. And I'm just going to evoke the shadows behind them instead of the columns themselves. And then we've got 3 round arches underneath that. Now, I've learned that ellipses are supposed to be the shape of these arches. So this is what it should look like in a perfect world. So I'm just trying to evoke that ever so slightly, drawing those ellipses, hoping that they're equal-ish. But these should follow along with those vanishing point lines again, which are becoming more and more dramatic as you push further and further this way. So this one's going to still be bent up in this way. This one should be bent a little bit more dramatically, even though it's very slight. They should also follow the common vanishing point, the tops of those. What else have we got going on here? statue up at the top here. I'm drawing edge of this building. Still pretty extreme, but not as extreme as I think it looks. One big thing I'm learning how to do is trust my eye and my gut instead of my brain, so I can look at something and go, that really, really looks wrong. Something's up with this. Maybe there is something wrong with it, or maybe I'm just not seeing it correctly. So am I gaslighting myself? No, I'm just I'm a human and I have faulty perception just like all other humans do. And so when you're looking really close at some of these structures, like if I'm looking at this, this is supposed to be the same size as this, hypothetically, and it kind of looks like it with the vanishing point up at the top. But if I get in my head and I'm drawing this part here, what's very easy for me to do is to make that way too big and throw it all out of whack when it's really, compared to everything around it, such a small feature. Even though it feels big in my mind, because I can see the structure, I know that it's the same size as the other structure behind it or in front of it. So I naturally want to try and add detail where there really doesn't need to be any, or add mass where there doesn't need to be any. And then we've got it coming along through here. One thing I would love to learn how to do, and maybe this is just a matter of practice, is drawing in windows perfectly equal from one another, right? So here's a window, here's a window, here's a window. And I'm not really following my vanishing points again. So I'm not very good at getting them to follow the same rhythm and follow the same pattern, and maybe that's okay in a sketch, but I would like to learn how to come as close as possible to being pretty darn close to perfect. So what I'm going to do here is make a couple of estimations. So we've got that row of windows up above, so I'm just going to sketch in underneath here the line where I think the bottom of those windows are, and a row of windows up underneath those. So I'm sketching in that line again, where I think that might be. Kitty Cat's here to say hello. She's taking off on a nap. She's very sleepy today. This morning she was very, very, very energetic, running around and demanding that I play, even though she broke her toys. So I stopped at Target to return something that just wasn't working anymore. That digital camera that I bought about, maybe it's a week ago now. But that digital camera did not last very long, I'll say. It was fun while it lasted, but I had to return it. So I went back and did, and with some of that return money, I got her a little kitty cat toy that she has been loving. It's kind of scratching the itch for her because she's a hunter. And as I'm drawing these, right, like I'm like, there's something really not right. There's something so off. And what I could do, and I've done this before in the past, is I could take this plane and I could divide it in half, and then divide that in half, and then divide that in half. But that means that I have to trust that I'm exactly getting those halves right, and I likely won't. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a try. And then a benefit of this is as I divide it in half, I'm getting my vanishing point up here. So there's one half. Let's cut that half into halves. Maybe that's about here. These half and halves. Maybe about here. Oh, quick see. Then it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 windows on here. So if I cut this in half one more time on all sides, then I should have 1, 2, 3. I should have 8. But maybe that's doable because I think this actually sticks out further, so I can cover that 8th. So maybe that's one way to do this. There's another here. Cut this in half. It's pretty wrong, but it's okay. This in half. And here's where I'm gonna bring the corner of this out and in. This is gonna take up more space than it actually takes up, or than it currently takes up. So this should line up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. This is close to the vanishing point. I think it's almost right on the line where that vanishing point is. So now I've got these 7 windows here, and I'm going to draw on that line. And these are actually columns that are obscuring the windows ever so slightly. So it's going to look something like this. Maybe I'm getting this all wrong. I think I am getting all this all wrong. I'm just gonna draw in the shapes and the frames of the windows and call that good enough for what I want to achieve here. There's something like there's nagging in the back of my head and like a choking. It's like oh no. So I'm just there's something I'm very unhappy with in here, and it's just frustrating the heck out of me. And I'm just gonna undo it all and try again. Ugh. That's as far back as I can undo. Oh well. So in a perfect world, these would be windows which follow along those perfectly. They get more and more rounded at the tops as they go further and further, because the angle that the these ellipses are getting further and further away. So I'm drawing some ellipses this past couple weeks. So here's an ellipse, and if it's the same ellipse further down the plane, it's going to be the major axis is going to still be parallel to that vanishing point. So it looks something like this, but it would be smaller minor axis as it rotates away. So here's a window that's up close, and there's a window that's far away. I'm trying to figure out how much detail I really want to put into this, because I don't know how much I've got left in me. I feel like this has been good practice for the form of the building, and getting that 3-point perspective in. But it doesn't feel like this needs to be any more or any less. I could go in and I could try and get the details, and I feel like if I did that, I would start driving myself mad. Like I'm doing right now already. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a quick go. It's not so bad. Yes, it is actually. Changed my mind. So, yeah. This is good enough for now. I'll just add in a couple of extra details. There's a window here. There's some kind of structure there. Some more columns. This follows like a brickwork pattern. And one thing you can do for these brickwork patterns is just sort of imply them with a couple of shades. You don't have to do the whole texture for it, which is cool. And the brain will fill in the rest. And then another brickwork pattern underneath that, a bit lower. And these are very thick bricks, so I'm going to draw in a couple very thick bricks here. There's a window in there. Window here. So this has been day 58. 2 days from now, I'm coming up on 2 months, and I'm not sure if I really want to do anything for that. I don't think I do. But maybe I should do something for like a bigger milestone, like 100 days. That's going to come up sooner than I realize, I'm sure. So that's something I should prepare for. If y'all have any ideas for that, that would be cool. And then I'm seeing more and more people join the Discord, which has been pretty cool too. So welcome. Oh my gosh. Tacity. Is that how you pronounce it? Maybe. I'm not actually sure. So I'm sorry for butchering your name. Forehead Master, that's it. Much easier to pronounce. Welcome to you. Retro, welcome to the Discord. Snacky, you've been here since, I think you were the first person in the Discord and one of the earliest watchers. So if you're binge watching these videos and you made it to here, welcome. Congratulations, you made it. So I appreciate all of you guys and everyone that's watching today. If you made it this far. I know these videos aren't conventional. Maybe they're kind of an ASMR kind of thing for some people, just for the background, someone to hang out with while you do other things. So if you're enjoying it for that reason, feel free to subscribe. Check out some other videos that I've got. What else have I got going on? Yeah, feel free to join the Discord. I've got the link in the channel page, channel description. And if y'all have any recommendations for what to draw next, or some resources to study from, I'm always all ears. So thank y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow, I hope, if you're down. Peace.